on Team Sideline, either later this evening or tomorrow, so that you can either send it to your teammates or rewatch it if you would like to at some point. So everyone, once again, thank you all for being here. I very much appreciate it. Now, what I'm going to be doing is sharing my screen so that everybody can see what I'm looking at. Okay. So right now, everybody on my screen and hopefully on your screens, if you're on your phone, I will do my best to talk you through what you're going to be seeing. But I do highly recommend you watch the video, at least the very beginning part when you have a chance, just so you can see what I am talking about, especially if you are new. But right now on your screen is our Team Sideline, which is our seasonal league scheduling service. And this is the program that we use and run for all of our adult sports leagues in the city of Ventura, and we'll begin using for a lot of our youth sports leagues like VYBA as well. Very easy to get here. All you have to do is type in www.teamsideline.com/Ventura. Please make sure to type the /Ventura. A lot of times people will forget that and they'll go to just regular teamsideline.com and then they'll call me freaking out. What do I do? What do I do? And I ask them if they've used the /Ventura and they say no, because it will just take you to the Team Sideline homepage for Team Sideline software business itself, not our Ventura specific page. So please remember the /. And I will also send a link to this in the follow-up email to this meeting. On this webpage here, you see some photos of people from our leagues having fun. Look at them. They're having a great time. Lots of different, right down below those photos is our game ticker, which shows you the next couple of games that are coming up on any given day. As you scroll down more, this is where I'll be leaving lots of notes and information about the leagues throughout the course of the season. Right now, I've got still some information open for the softball league. This is not because registration is open anymore. Registration is closed, but it's because there are some links in here that I'm going to leave up for you as a manager until the league starts next week, just in case you need it. We're going to be coming back to these in a bit, though. Right now, what I do want to draw your attention to, over here on the left, a little bit further down the page, you'll see an option called Schedules. This is where your season schedule is going to be during the entirety of the course of the season. The schedules are not yet done. I apologize. It's been a very busy couple of weeks. I will have them up tomorrow afternoon, and I will send a follow-up email once they are ready. Right now, we have all of our other sports leagues available for our season: basketball, kickball, soccer, volleyball. And right now, what I'm going to show everybody is our is what the schedule looks like. I'll be using last season's schedule. So what you'll do is under Fall 23 tomorrow, you'll see an option for softball. Go over to softball. You'll click on the little arrow, and it will bring up several different options for leagues. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday leagues. If you know the day that your team is signed up for, go ahead and click the little arrow, and all the names are all the teams that are registered for that league will drop down. When we put divisions together, we try to take all of the teams that sign up within the registration period, first come, first serve, and we assess how we think they'll be able to compete against each other. A lot of teams will ask or request certain divisions, and I try to remind teams that the names of the divisions are meaningless. I've had teams before that were in, the second from the bottom division, and then they got bumped up all the way to the top division the next year. It's because the divisions are made based on how we think you'll be able to compete with the other teams that have signed up. So like I said, a lot of teams will try to request being in the lowest or the middle or the highest or whatever. It doesn't work like that. You will get placed based on how we think you'll be able to compete with the other teams that have signed up. I will be going into more details about that later. But right now, what you'll do is once you find your day, you can click all the little arrows to see all the different teams that have signed up. Once you find your team name, go ahead and click on the link, and it will take you to your schedules page. If you cannot find your team name, it's probably because I don't know it. And that could be because you either didn't send it to me or you sent it to me and it got lost in a flurry of emails. So please just email me. Say, hey, I can't find my team name. This is my team name. I will find out the mistake. I will correct it. Please, I've had people call me very angry before, but we will have we have your registration. We know we just probably have you signed up under a different name, whether it be a previous name or a name that you have maybe in a different league. On each schedule page, you'll see messages at the top. We'll update these more and more as the season goes along. For instance, right here, I had to leave a note that on 8/29, we had to reschedule playoffs because of the poor field conditions. We had a freak storm at the end of the summer. As the season progresses, you'll get more and more updates to things that are happening throughout the course of the league. We may move teams around. Schedules may change because of dropouts, forfeits, weather, etc. Whenever there are changes, the messages up here will be able to notify you of what the changes are made. All the teams will be listed here, and your standings: win, loss, tie, your runs for, your runs against, run differential. Your schedules are then listed here. For each week, the day of the game, the time. All of our games are at 6:30, 7:40, or 8:50. The home team is here on the left, the away team is here on the right, and the field that you're playing on is over here on the right. Scores are updated at the end of the night. If you think a score was inputted correctly, please just email me and I'm happy to fix it. If you aren't sure where to go, you can go ahead and click on the field number in the location. And look at that, it takes you to a map of the park. This is just a map of the park, not exactly field 1, 2, and 3. But if it makes it any easier, we can zoom in here. 1 is closest to the snack bar check-in area. 2 is closest to the dog park. 3 is the big one with the big bump on the pitcher's mound, the one that's farthest away. That's at Camino. We also will have games at Ventura Community Park, in Ventura, oftentimes called Kimball Park. So when we click on that one, it'll open up this field. Your choices for this field are Auto Center or Ventura Toyota. Auto Center is the one that's slightly farther away. It has a home run field, or it has a home run fence. And Ventura Toyota Field is one that's slightly closer with a very long, big outfield. Certain weeks are blocked out. You'll see that in your schedule. For instance, this season we didn't play games on the 4th of July, so that week was blocked out. And the schedule will continue to go on. As weeks are changed due to weather, whatever, certain situations coming up, those weeks will be blocked out and you will be able to identify. At the end of the season, the top 4 teams in every division will make playoffs. Playoffs are all played in one night. The 4 plays the 1, the 3 plays the 2, and the winner of those 2 games will play the championship game at 8:50. Okay. So that is how the schedule works. If you have any further questions about the schedule, please add it into the chat, and I will do my best to answer them at the end of the meeting. Right now, I'm going to draw your attention to this middle section here. And the first thing, if you have not already done this, is you can click on this link to download a team roster. We appreciate these if you send them ahead of time. Basically, this allows us to see your team name, to see who the contact information is, and to start a tally of your players. The signatures need to be in ink, in person. So if you cannot get them ahead of time, that's okay. We can get signatures during the first game or the first few weeks if needed, but we do appreciate having these ahead of time. So this is a PDF form you can fill out digitally, so you can type it in, save it, and then you can send it to me as a PDF. You can take a photo of it. You can bring it into City Hall if you would like to, whatever you prefer, whatever is easiest for you. So you can fill it out just like that and save it if you want to. Oops. Well, good thing I know how to get back to team sideline. Okay. And so the next thing that we're going to be talking about here, and we're going to spend a little bit more time with this, I'm going to try and go through it a little bit more slowly just because it is very important, is the manager's guide. And you can find that right here. This is something that I also recommend you send to your teammates, just so everybody has access to it. The more people who understand what's expected of them and the rules, the better for everyone. We don't want to have situations where there are people who do not know the rules yelling and screaming at the umpire or the other team because they don't know the rules. The umpires do know the rules. Very few instances where an umpire will make a mistake. And if you think that situation is happening, keep in mind our umpires will play both teams the exact same way. If you think there is a mistake, just email me. There's no reason to yell at anybody, and I will address it. Some of these things still do need to be updated because we have removed a few leagues that we were trying to promote just due to time schedules and field availability. Fall is a very busy season for us. We've got 105 teams across 4 nights, and so it's 5 divisions playing per night. All divisions have either 5 or 6 teams. Umpire fees are $20 per game, paid to the umpire at game time. We do not collect these fees ahead of time. You will need to pay the umpire, preferably in cash, for each game. Some umpires are okay with Venmo or other forms of digital currency, but not all of them are. Don't rely on your umpire being willing to accept Venmo. Make sure to have cash ready. Please come prepared as well. If it's taking you a long time to get the money from your players because everyone's putting in $2 or $3, you're going to lose your own game time. We're not going to sacrifice later games just because you aren't ready to go. This is a point that I'm going to be making a few more times during the course of this meeting, but you need to be ready at your game time. We've moved the game times back from previous seasons to make it easier for people to get there on time, to get everything collected and ready. You really don't have many excuses. We understand traffic is an issue, but the schedules are up and available for you to view. We don't make changes day of without your permission, so you do know what time you need to be at the fields. You do know what time your game starts. You should be ready to go. This is my contact information in case you don't already have it. Some team information. Teams, we try to limit rosters to 15 players. However, there are instances where rosters will need to go more than 15 players because a lot of businesses have inconsistent schedules. A lot of community teams as well may have inconsistent schedules. It's okay if your roster is more than 15 players, but just be aware that the bigger your roster is, the less playing time people get, so people may not want to come back. And we still only give out 15 prizes. So if your team has 18 people and you win, 3 people aren't getting prizes. Everybody, when they show up to the first game, is going to have to fill out the roster. And we also have an additional COVID waiver that everybody on the team will have to sign. Both of them will be attached to a clipboard my staff will be bringing to you during the first couple of weeks. Please fill it out. Please fill it out correctly. Please make sure that everybody on your team is filling it out as well. Once again, if your team is not filling it out, we will stop your game time to make sure the rosters and forms are filled out correctly. If you do not want to lose game time, listen to the things that I'm saying, and please make sure everybody is aware that they need to fill out both forms. Every team is guaranteed 8 games. There are situations in the past where we have had fewer than 8 games. If we have to cancel games, we will let you know. We will explain why, and we will reimburse you any games that you miss because of issues on our end or weather-related issues. If you do not get 8 games because other teams forfeit or because you forfeit, we do not make those games up. Those games count as wins and losses. So they will not be made up at any point during the season. If you do need to forfeit a game, please let me know 24 hours ahead of time. It's not a hard and fast 24 hours. I like to think of it as a, did you let me know first thing in the morning? So if it's 8 a.m., you don't think your team's going to be able to make it to a game, send me an email as quickly as possible. If I haven't checked into the office, it still gives me time to let the other team know, let the other umpire know, try to rearrange the schedule. If you give proper notice, early enough in the morning, we will not charge you the forfeit fee. However, if you do not give me enough time to prepare, if you do not show up at all, then you're going to have to pay the full officials fees, which is $40 for you and the other team for your forfeited game. The fees need to be paid before your next game, or you may forfeit that game. If you do forfeit, I will reach out to you, and we will try to find the best way to collect those fees from you. Games are 60 minutes, and they utilize a one ball, one strike count, which means everybody that goes up to bat, they automatically start with one ball and one strike. Games are 60 minutes or no new after 60, which means that when the clock hits 60 minutes, we will finish that inning, home and away. Will both get to finish their chances to bat if needed, or we end at 7 innings. If a game is ending at like 58 or 59 something, and the umpire doesn't think that you have enough time to go out there and set up before the time runs out, or if the umpire says this difference between teams is too great for any one team to make up, they can end the game a few minutes early, or not a few minutes early, but within a minute or two, if they think that the game is basically already over. Rainouts will happen, unfortunately. I hate them. They make my job hard. Please don't ask me or call me when there are clouds in the sky. If it's cloudy, if you're not sure about whether or not games are going to be played, go to Team Sideline. There will be a weather notification on the homepage that we update as we hear from our parks crew. If we cancel games, we will update you as soon as possible. If we don't cancel games, that will also be notified that we are assessing fields, and we will say whether games will be planned or not. After 3 p.m., it is up to the umpires to decide whether or not games can be played or not. I'll be out of the office. I can't make decisions at that point. It is up to the umpires to decide if fields are too safe or not to play. If the umpire says we're not playing this game, it's too dangerous, it's too wet, people are going to get hurt, the umpire and only the umpire at that point can cancel games, not me. We use the SMAF, Southern California Municipal Athletic Federation rule book for the majority of our leagues. For the majority for our softball leagues, we do have a few differences. I'll be going through these quickly just because I trust you to read, and I know you all know where this is. Game fees must be paid at the start of each game. There are going to be no Little League fences at Camino, so if you're on field 1 and 2 and 3, you can swing away. When the fences are up in the spring and the summer, they are automatic outs if you hit over the fence. Please be ready to go before your game starts. I mentioned this before. I'm going to keep mentioning it. If your game starts at 7:40 or 8:50 and you're just kind of sitting all around, talking, whatever, warm up. Start throwing the ball around. Get your cleats on. You're losing your own game time if you are not ready to play. Teams can play with as few as 8 players. For co-ed teams, they cannot have more than 5 men on the field at any one time, which means that if a co-ed team is short ladies, they cannot replace women with men. You cannot run 6-4 or 7-3. If you only have 3 women, you are playing 5 men and 3 women. You can also ask the other team for a courtesy catcher. The other team, though, does not have to provide a courtesy catcher. However, if the other team decides in the first inning, yes, we will provide a courtesy catcher, they have to provide it the entirety of the rest of the game or until somebody plays up to play catcher. They cannot choose to withdraw the courtesy catcher during the game. Only in our co-ed leagues. You'll notice when you get out there, the field is lined with a large arc 180 feet out from home plate. When a lady is up to bat, only a female outfielder is allowed to be in front of that line. If a team doesn't have 8 players at the start of a game, at least 8 players at the start of a game, and they are set to field, They can switch home and away with the other team so that they can bat first. However, if they do not have 8 players ready to go when it's their turn to field, it is an automatic forfeit. If you do not have 8 players when it's your turn to field, the game is over. You lose. Some of the umpires are very strict. I would not push it. I know some of our umpires have forfeited games with the 8th player in eye shot of the field. But like I said, we moved the times back to make it easier for people to get to the games. Please be ready to go. Okay. Team players can only play for one team in each division. If a team would have to forfeit a game, which means fewer than 8 players, they are allowed to borrow players from other teams. However, they can only be played provided they are marked as substitute players. We do this so that we don't add them to your roster because they are still not rostered players. Players can only be on one team's roster. If we see 2 teams playing with the same rostered player, then I get to have the fun thing of calling the teams, trying to figure out who this player is actually allowed to play for, and then forfeit games that he's played for both teams on the same day. Before each game, the umpire will hand you a blue scorecard. I'm going to make this very clear. It is your responsibility to make sure that all of your players who are there for the game are written down on the scorecard. It is your responsibility to make sure they are written down clearly, legibly. If a player arrives late, it is your responsibility to get the card back from the umpire and write that new player's name down. We use these cards, A, to track your batting order, B, to track attendance. And we track attendance to see who is part of your roster and who is allowed to play at the end of the season. If a player's name is not written on that card, they do not get credit for attendance. They are not allowed we do not consider it a game. So if that would have been their 3rd game, if they are not written down, they don't get to play in playoffs. I can't tell you how many times people have said, "Oh, trust me, Joe Blow or Joe Schmo, he was totally there for 5 games. If I only see his name written down twice, I only care that he was there for 2 games. The rest of the games don't matter to me. They don't exist. I don't care. He doesn't get to play in the playoffs." We prefer first and last names. If players' names are too long, first initial, last name. If there are people with the same first initial and last name, please write something else so we can distinguish them. I don't want 3 J. Smiths on the same card because only 1 J. Smith is going to get credit for that game. We do use the mercy rule. I'll let you read it on your own. And one point that I'm going to emphasize a lot is we do not allow the consumption of alcohol or smoking of cannabis at City Ventura parks. If an umpire sees you drinking or smoking cannabis at your game in your dugout, it's just an automatic forfeit. Do not push it. Some of the umpires might be nice enough to ask you to put it away. Not all of them will be. Do not push it. Don't come crying to me when your game gets forfeited because you were drinking. The game's over. You lost. This is the rule. You're aware of it. Okay. The next thing we're going into will be the code of conduct. This is another thing that is very important for our leagues. Please keep in mind that my ultimate responsibility is to the leagues. It is to every team that signs up. It is not just to your team. I need to make sure that I'm following this code of conduct as well, and I hold this code of conduct to my umpires as well. If there are people who are causing problems or teams causing problems in our league that are making our leagues unsafe or not fun for others, then we will have problems. I will be bringing in punishments. I will be kicking players out of games, suspending players. I don't want to. I don't like it. Please don't make me. I've done it pretty much every season for pretty much all of the sports. I've had to kick players out of playoffs before because they chose to get into an argument with an umpire. I don't want to have to do it, but I will. I've had to kick entire teams out of the playoffs before because the entire team decided to follow an umpire to the parking lot. It's not fun. Don't make me do it. Uh, when you sign up to participate in the City Ventura League, you and everybody else on your team agrees to abide by a certain code of decency and respect that you have for the umpires, the officials, spectators who are in public City Ventura parks, for the other team, and for my staff. If an umpire feels that you are not abiding by certain moral code or respect and decency that they do expect, that we all expect from you while participating in our leagues, then they have the authority to enact discipline. Please remember that the umpire is the ultimate authority on the field. They have been trained. They have been brought in specifically because of their acumen and knowledge of the game, and also because their ability to control and manage a group of people. If you don't like a call an umpire made, that's too bad. Do not get into a fight with the umpire, because if an umpire has to kick you out of a game because you are choosing not to respect them and you're choosing not to abide by our code of conduct, I'm going to side with the umpire and you'll be suspended for a week. Please respect the people around you. If there are issues that you have with the other team, please bring it up to the umpire. If you have issues with an umpire not listening to you or respecting you, do not take it out yourself. Do not try to deal with it yourself. Please let me handle it. I will address it. If an umpire feels that somebody is not following the code of conduct, first they will generally start with a warning to the player or team. If whatever issues continue to persist after the warning, the umpire may choose to remove players from the game if they so choose. After that, if a player is removed from the game and they refuse to leave the park, they will be suspended from further league play. Please keep in mind that if an umpire feels like you've been acting in a way that is bad enough, they can skip anything in this code of conduct, or they can skip anything in this progression. If an umpire feels like you've done something that's bad enough to be kicked out of the game immediately, they are allowed to do that. Below are a few things called major infractions, and these are things that are big-time no-nos. These are things where there is no progressive discipline. These are automatic ejections and suspensions. Physical contact with an official player, staff, or fan. Kicking, fighting, biting, scratching, punching, clawing, pulling hair of anybody else. The umpire will remove you from the game. You will be forced to leave the field. You cannot come back for a decent amount of time. The minimum suspension is 1 week. I've suspended players for an entire season before, and before me, there were people who were suspended for a year plus. Oh, sorry. And one thing I do want to bring up right now as well is that if at any point you are removed from a game, you need whoever is removed from the game, person, player, fan, etc. They need to leave the field immediately. They cannot stay and watch. If they refuse to leave, if a player is kicked out of a game and they refuse to leave the field, then A, the cops will be called, and B, your team will forfeit. This applies as well to fans. So if an umpire feels that your fans are getting out of control, the umpire can ask your fans to leave the park. If your fans refuse to leave the park, cops will be called. Your team will forfeit the game. If they're there to support you, you need to explain to them that they need to be respectful as well. You're in a public park. There are children and families walking by. Think about how, if you would like, when you're with your family, if you would like to see a bunch of drunken idiots, for lack of a better word, causing a problem, would you feel comfortable? Would you want to walk back? Would you want to be a part of whatever program they are representing? Probably not. And that's what you need to remember when I establish this code of conduct and make these decisions. I need to protect the leagues. I need to protect I need to consider the people in the park as well as the people in the league and the programs. If you're causing problems, I don't want problems. You will be removed. And as a manager as well, I would like to remind you that you are responsible for yourself, all the players on your team, and your fans. You cannot hide behind the fact that they're just there to support you. If they're causing problems, you need to get them to leave. Next major infraction, verbal abuse, objectionable demonstrations, using vulgarities or profanities directed towards other people, other teams, umpires, staff, fans, etc. Flipping the bird, stomping your cleats, throwing your mitt or bat on the ground in an aggressive, unnecessary manner. If the umpire doesn't like it, he'll just tell you to leave. Goodbye. Unnecessary rough play. There is not a lot of contact in softball, but there is some. Obviously, a ball is being thrown to first, somebody's trying to get there, or somebody's sliding into second. There's going to be some contact. But all of this is contact within the realm of the game. If an umpire feels like you have made a kind of play that is beyond the realm of what is normal or should be allowed in the setting that you're in, the umpire will remove you from the game. I've seen this before where players are running home or they are running to second or third base, and there's somebody kind of on the baseline, and they lower their shoulder and they truck them. That is absolutely unnecessary. It is very easy for you to yell and scream to get the attention of somebody to get out of your way or to go around them. If you cannot go around somebody, if somebody's standing in your way and you cannot get around them and they are not in position to make a play, but it causes you to get out, the umpire can call interference and award you the next base. Do not make unnecessary contact to avoid getting out. If it had to happen, get the umpire's attention. Let the umpire make the correct play. Do not take it into your own hands. And last, I mentioned it, I'll mention it again, consuming alcohol. If an umpire sees you consuming alcohol in the dugout, on the field, etc., they can remove you from the game immediately. If we catch your team drinking, that's just a forfeit. Don't push it. I'll let you read all that. We do not allow composite bats in the city of Ventura. This is composite in the barrel. We do, however, allow composite in the handle. I'll let you read the rest of the rules for bats, but basically make sure that it has an ASA stamp on it. If it does not have an ASA stamp, it will not be allowed no matter what. If you are thinking of considering buying a bat, please feel free to email it to me. I can have Brad check it or another umpire check it to make sure it will be a legal bat. And this is where I also do my plug for local business. Play It Against Sports is very familiar with our leagues. We've had people who work for us in the past. They're a very good reference for bats for the season. So feel free to check out Play It Against Sports. Ask them, hey, is this bat going to be okay for the City of Ventura leagues? They'll be able to point you in the right direction. If an umpire feels that you're using an illegal bat, they can remove it. They can have you remove it from the game. And Brad will probably correct me because I'm probably going to be wrong, but if a player takes a bat that has already been removed from the game, is an illegal bat, brings it into the batter's box, it is an automatic out. I do not remember. Sorry. It's not an automatic out. It's an automatic forfeit. Going back now to our classifications of how we put teams together. Like I said earlier before, the classifications themselves don't mean so much. We always try to take all the teams that sign up, look at how they will play against each other, and try to put divisions together as best as we can. Last summer, we had very good teams sign up, and so a lot of good teams got pushed into lower classifications. That won't be true for every season. Some seasons we have almost no top tier teams sign up. So a lot of mid-tier teams get bumped into higher classifications and they start freaking out and they start calling me, and then I explain to them that they are being paired with teams that they have experience playing with, against, and should be even competition. Generally, our classifications go novice, then novice A, novice B, novice 1, novice 2. If you don't think your team belongs in the classification you're in, first, look at all the other teams that are in that classification. If you're a returning team, consider how you've played against these teams in the past. And then say, am I being paired with teams that we've had even competition with in the past? Then it means you're probably in the right classification. This is also the point where I remind people that we will not be adjusting any teams before the season starts. We've already put the divisions together. We just need to create the schedules. We always have space to readjust divisions if we feel teams are not going to be as competitive as we thought they were, but we cannot do that until after we see teams play. We will not make changes before the league starts. If you need to add or drop players to your roster, just go ahead and email me. We can get it done. But I would like to remind everybody that rosters are locked after the 4th week. You cannot have a player show up for week 6, 7, and 8 and then say they're good to go for the playoffs. If they were not on your roster in the first 4 weeks, they are not a rostered player. They will be considered a sub or an illegal player if I see they've been playing for another team, and they will not be allowed to play for you in the playoffs. If you think a player is not going to be available for the first 4 weeks, but you would still like them to be eligible for playoffs, then they need to be on your roster. Add them now. A lot of teams are confused by the tie-breaking procedures we use. We have a lot of ties in the league. I get a lot of 4-4 teams that are competing for the 4th spot, and this is how we do it. First is winning percentage. Teams with a better winning percentage get better standings. Then it's head-to-head differential. We use this because a lot of teams will play the same team twice, and it might come down to those 2 teams to determine who ends up in 4th. Whichever team has the better run differential between the 2 teams who are in the same spot, that team will get the higher seed. Head to group differential. This is what happens when there are 3 teams that all have the same record, and they all have some combination of wins and losses against each other. If A beat B, B beat C, and C beat A, then we look at between those 3 teams who has the best run differential in this situation. That team gets the best seed. And I'll let you read the rest on your own. This does need to be updated because we've changed our game times. But basically, the first 2 playoff games are still no new after 60 or 1st to 7. Championship games in the playoffs, the last game is 70 minutes, no new after 70 minutes, or 7 innings, whichever comes first. And the winner for each league will receive prizes. Okay. That is everything I had planned for this meeting. I'm going to stop sharing screen right now, and I'll now be reading through questions that people have been posting. If at any point you have any more questions, please feel free to throw them into the chat now. Sorry. All right, so apologies for that. Starting at the top. Okay. All right. Can you request a courtesy catcher with 5 men, 4 women, or only if you have 8 players? Brad, would you actually mind stepping in for this one? Can teams request a courtesy catcher if they have 9 players?
They need to have 8, and the requests can be granted and accepted by the other team or not. I have never had another team that said no. They all want to play the game. So we are a recreational league, so everybody's out there to keep it going.
That's good. Okay, so that is a no then, correct? If you have 9 players, there is no courtesy catcher?
You have to play with 9.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. The division schedules will be posted tomorrow afternoon. If you are don't think your team is registered correctly, then you can please just send me an email with your team name and the night you signed up for, and I'll make sure that your team is registered correctly. Yes, you are free to add players to your roster at any time within the first 4 weeks. They just need to sign the roster before they start playing. Um, Brad, to your question, yes. We'll give everybody else a few minutes to ask questions. But if nobody, we'll give. But after that, then I'll let you have some time. I'm going to give everybody now a few more minutes to go ahead and ask questions. I know there are a lot of people um, calling. So if you do have any questions on the phone, please feel free just to speak up because I understand you can't type in chat. Unfortunately, all of our leagues right now are closed, and we are not accepting any new registrations. Okay. If at this point nobody has any questions, I'm going to let Brad take over. He has something he would like everybody to know. Brad, please feel free to speak.
Thank you, Tyler. I would like to mention just a few things that come up regularly at, say, managers' meetings and or during the games. Number one, startup equipment needs to be in the dugout, all of it, whether you're batting or whether you're in the field. We have put up hangers for the bats in the dugouts. Please put them in those or put them by the front door. You can grab it when you come out. We are allowed a base coach at first and third and one on deck batter. I don't want to have myself or my other umpires continue throughout the games to ask players to get inside. So please follow that for us. Make it easier for us. It wastes time and stops the game, slows it down. Um, Tyler mentioned the drinking and smoking. There's the whole field, both fields. The city has the no drinking and no smoking rule. We have, as of this year, initiated a no music rule. 90% of the teams don't play music, but some try and complain they can't play without it. Uh, it's a distraction. It can make calls hard to hear, have to cause us to repeat ourselves. So we just flat no music. If you guys got to play your music, go to the club. If you want to play softball, come to the field. Uh, Please be kind and considerate. As Tyler mentioned, remember there's only one umpire out there. We are trying our darndest to see everything. We are trying to be in position to see everything, but sometimes we're not going to see everything. And so keep that in mind. We will, I know I do, take the time to stop, listen to your complaint, tell you what I saw, and then we're done with that conversation. So don't yell at us from the dugout. Ask for time. We'll be more than happy to talk. We have now added this year some additional field training with just the umpires and some practice teams so that we could all stand there and evaluate everybody. So we're getting an extra day of umpire training in addition to the games that an experienced umpire will be training another umpire. And that can be 2 or 3 nights that happens. So we are doing our best to make sure everybody is trained the same. Um, as far as protests go, you cannot protest a judgment call. You can ask for time, discuss it with the umpire, listen to what he has to say, and we'll go on from there. A rules interpretation, that is a protestable call.
Brad, real quick, can you explain what a protest is?
The protest is when you feel that, and it's only rules, when you feel that a rule is interpreted incorrectly and the umpire allowed something to go on that the rule book specifically says no, or vice versa. Stop something that the rule book specifically says yes. The umpire will not have a rule book. He's not going to pull the rule book out and look at it on the field. But you are entitled to file a protest. It will be recorded as when and what inning and what the protest was regarding. Then it'll be looked into and find out if it's valid or not. And an answer as to how to proceed from there will be decided at that time. The game could be played over from that point. The game could be called because it was an invalid protest, but it will need to be looked into in further detail at that point. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, just a couple other things. I promise I'll be done. As Tyler mentioned, we want to watch our language, and I've been told by many teams and managers that they brought their team to Ventura because it's family oriented. They feel safe having their kids out there, not having to worry about people using foul language. We want to make sure that we continue in that vein. That's very good for Ventura. Tyler mentioned contact. I will mention one thing that regarding contact that needs to be brought up is for first baseman. There's two things. One is if you got a bad throw that's going to pull you down the line, pull you onto the orange bag, let it go pick it up. Because what's going to happen is you're going to step into the runner who's flying down the line. They're going to run into you and somebody's going to get hurt. It's better to go pick it up after they go by and everybody's safe. The other thing is on a single or a double or a triple, a clean hit, as a first baseman, please do not back up. All of the runners make a big arc around outside. So as a first baseman, take one step towards your pitcher and you'll be safe and they'll be safe. No one's going to get hurt. As far as obstruction, if you run into another player and it's all accidental and you go back to the base you were coming from and you don't get out, there's nothing the umpire can call. If you continue on and get safely to the base, you're safe. If you continue on and they're called out because of the obstruction, you're awarded your base. So if you stop and go back, you possess that base and that's that. If you continue, then there's room for the umpire to make the call. As far as teams moving around the first few weeks, please keep in mind, I've had a lot of people come up to me, keep in mind that Tyler will do his best, but just because you feel you're in too high or too low a league doesn't mean there's a team in the league that you need to be moved into that he can move out. So keep that in mind, be patient, and the main thing is I want everybody to be safe. I've been very fortunate in 8 or 9 years I've been umpiring. I shouldn't say this, but no one has got seriously injured. I've had some minor injuries. I've been injured minor myself. Other than that, ambulance hasn't been called. Nobody's broke anything. So I would like to keep that record for everybody.
Brad, I
And
hope you have a lot of wood you're knocking on over there. You are playing with fire right now.
I think I'm done, Tyler.
All right, Brad, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And yes, everybody, Brad did bring in a lot of good points there. Thank you, especially about just keeping yourself safe, being respectful towards others. I would like to just instill in everybody again, please remember, if you have an issue with something that happens during the game, please do not try to deal with it or handle it yourself. Please bring it up to me, and I will address it appropriately. I see I have another question about leagues and placements. Please email me your team name and the night you've signed up for. As I mentioned before, teams cannot request divisions. We will place you into a division based on how we think you'll be competitive with other teams that have signed up. If at this point nobody has any further questions, thank you all for being here. Feel free to log out, and we will look forward to seeing you next week. I will send a follow up email tomorrow once the schedules and divisions have been posted. Everyone, thank you. Have a great night.
Thanks, Tyler.